Welcome. Is everybody coming into the learning experience? Good afternoon. Hello. I'm so thrilled to serve with you today. Hello. I know today is a winning Wednesday. Come right on in and make yourself comfortable. Matter of fact, go ahead while you're jumping into this learning space, go ahead and put your name, your organization's name, and what your business does. Do you provide a product, a service? And go ahead and drop the link too, because one of the things that I believe in is that we could meet our next business bestie, our next customer, our next partner, our next friend, our next neighbor in some of these training spaces, and you'll come to find out that you are going to have some very shared interests as we spend this learning time together. So over the next minute or so, I want you to drop that information in the chat. Again, your name, the name of your business, what type of product or service your business provides, and also drop the link because perhaps your next customer is right here in this training. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to drop the link of today's slide decks and some resources. So I'm going to put that in the chat as well. I'm going to drop it in the chat a couple of times. So go ahead and let me make sure I can see it in the chat. Let me make sure. Yes, I dropped the link. It is a Google Drive, something easy peasy that you can jump right into because we like to make this information accessible for everyone. I'm one of those type of learners that sometimes I need downloads and templates. There's going to be a recording of this. I'm a continual learner. And so I have decked out the Google Drive for your references with today in that Google Drive. You will have the slide deck. You'll have a workbook. You'll have a answer key to that workbook. You'll have an action plan and a special invitation as well to join me for continued learning. So again, you've got 60 seconds to do two things. In the chat, drop your name, your business, the name of your business, what your business does, as well as a link to your business. And I'm going to do roll call to say hello to you before I get started so I can get to learn our learners. We've got over 20 learners that are in the space. Want to say good morning or good afternoon to Tammy, owner of T's Bargains Beauties. And if I mispronounce your name, please pause me and help us all learn how to say it correctly. We are all new clothing and household items for cheap. Hey, Christy, in rare form by Offbeat Makers. Good morning, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Miriam. Good afternoon, Nikki. Trust recruiting for nonprofits and small businesses in Cleveland. Hey, Lori, take a scent journey through joy, culture, and connection. An artisan crafted candle inspired by our shared memories and experience. Okay. Miriam, navigate this space. Jennifer, Lake Erie Scoops. Ooh, yummy. We offer quality homemade ice cream, treats, and baked goods in Cleveland. Jasmine Music Publishing in startup. All right. Music rights administration and music publishing service. Cherry Blend Coffee Roasters. Ooh, yay. Cheers. I've got my coffee. Awesome. Karen. pairing with legacy builders, coaching and consulting, helping business leaders build stronger team and better workplace. Ooh, that's real good. Sierra, good morning, Sierra. Xenix Cleaning. We do commercial cleaning, preventable maintenance, and residential renovations. Ooh, okay. Nikki dropped her LinkedIn. Eric, executive readiness business, execution readiness advisory for founder-led businesses. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And we're going to continue to welcome people into our learning space. But before, and I'm going to drop the link to the curriculum. Once again, I'll drop that a couple of more times throughout the session as we are welcoming new learners into the place. But before we start the magic here at Jumpstart, we want to say hello to Fee that is going to bring us together for a great welcome to open us up. Good afternoon, Fee. How's it going?
It's going great. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm really excited that I am the person who got to introduce you today. Um, so my name is Fee McKinnon, and I work at Jumpstart. I am the Senior Director of Strategic Business Initiatives, but I also am one of our grant writers on staff here. So I very specifically asked if I could get to sit in on Dr. Brandy's workshop. She doesn't need any introduction, but I'm really excited to introduce today's presenter, Dr. Brandi Raé Hicks. Obviously, the founder of Serve You, she brings over 10 years of experience in grant writing and training and has worked with organizations like us at Jumpstart and the United Way. Her work's focused on making grant funding more accessible, especially for individuals balancing full-time work while building something meaningful on the side. Not only am I excited to hear from Brandi, but I love that I'm seeing all of these chat responses already. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We can't interact. We're unable to turn on sound for any of our webinar viewers, but throw a question or anything in the chat and I'll be monitoring that along the way. And with that, pass it on back to you, Dr. Brandi.
Awesome sauce. One footnote. Woo. It's not 10 years. It's been 30 years.
Oh,
Don't do the
geez.
math. Do not do the math here. I have been in grantsmanship quite a long time, but I am thrilled to be in this space to work with small businesses because there has been some lessons and best practices along the way that I feel that it's really essential, especially during this time, to gather during this lunch and learn to understand how we need to develop resilient qualities as we, as small business owners, are navigating through disruptive times. And so today's conversation is going to be around how you perceive resilience qualities and then how your organization responds to those challenges in order to continue services in the community. And I did a lot of research through just years and years of experience and through my dissertation research through organizational resilience qualities. And I'm going to share with you what we've been researching in the field about organizational resilience. And so, yes, 30 is a harsh number, but 25 plus sounds a lot easier to digest when you get to this age. But I have been I was voluntold to be a grant writer, not only for working in philanthropy for nonprofits, but in 2018, when I shifted the name of my company from Ray of Light Management to Serve University, I wanted to create or continue the creation of my for-profit business model to help leaders with training that I couldn't get access to in the beginning of my career because it was inaccessible due to cost. Back in the day, like it was costly and it was reserved for senior executives. And so I developed a lot of training and resources to allow us to have it equitable and accessible to all that are in need. And so for today's course, again, there is a Google Drive. I'm going to drop it again in the chat. It'll take you directly to the Google Drive. There is the slide deck that I'm going to be chatting through today. There is a workbook that we're going to walk through, and I even dropped the answer key because I think that it's with this learning. For some of this is an introduction. It's going to introduce you to language and processes that will be new to you. For some of you, it's going to confirm what you already know to refine your processes when it comes to grantsmanship and to ready your organization, as well as some templates, not only that are in the workbook, but a 90-day resilience quality action plan, and then a special invitation that we'll chat through at the end of today's workshop. So we're going to rock out between now and dismiss at 2 p.m. Again, use the chat and I'll answer questions through without. But before we get into today's session, I'm going to drop, I just thought of this before class that I use with some of my other classes. I want to check the temperature. All right, you got to use your chat for this, right? All right. I want to check how my leaders are doing by signs of emojis. Now, there's 4 different emojis you can choose from. You ready? You got to look in the chat. Number 1, it's a heart emoji. I'm loving it. My business is thriving. We're doing A-okay. Like we're just riding this wave. Everything's cool. The thumbs up is we're maintaining. We're hanging in there. The 4th emoji is, as the young kids say, oh, I'm crashing out. It's wild times. It's a meteor day. I should have maybe for my Cleveland folks like had an emoji for a meteorite, but like we're just going to use the wackadoodle. And for those of you all that follow Punch, the manatee, the little monkey, some of you all, I just need a hug. So I want you to choose one of the 4 emojis and tell me how you're feeling as a business owner. Is everything cool? Are you hanging in there? Are you loving it? Everything, I'm coasting along. You may be having like, what is going on? Wild times out here. Or you're just like, hey, you know what? I just need a hug. And there are no wrong answers. Go ahead and put your emoji in there. Mercedes made up her own emoji with the smiley face upside down. Let's see. Fee is a wackadoodle, just at wild times. Lori's hanging in there. Lydia is loving it. Karen needs a hug. Karen, we're giving you a virtual hug. Jasmine and SJ is thumbs up. Sierra, wild times. I get it. Nikki's having a thumbs up. Miriam is navigating through the space. Jasmine needs a hug. Tyler, I understand. I understand. You and Jennifer are going through it. And so when we are going to like journey through today, we're going to have continued conversations about, and thank you for your transparency in that. I know that was kind of fun to like understand and to see everybody else emoji to understand like you are not alone in the processes that you're going through with your business. And so today we're going to talk about like what are going to be those resilient qualities that you need to create some type of stability within your agency and kind of track where you are and where you need to plan to be in your next quarter because we're coming up on quarter 2. That first one, whew, that went quick. And then how to kind of assess your organization's resilience. And then as a leader, like how can you develop and build trust within your community and understand the assets that you currently have can be retrofitted or recreated or repurposed to try new innovative approaches. And then what are some of the fiscal transparency practices that we kind of need to talk about and who needs to hear what's going on in the business practices of your organization and understanding that community partnerships and collaborative activities are now what's going to be key to us moving forward. And then understand how to design these flexible models or services in order to emerge through these resiliencies, and then how to create this realistic plan. And so, again, there's two parts to today's conversation. We're going to go through the slide deck, and then we're going to go through the workbook that's your takeaway in order to go through and start to create your own plan. So as we kind of think about, you're going to see a lot of citations because I'm a research nerd. And so even within this, we're going to kind of take a look at some case studies. I also want to define what does disruptive times mean. The overarching obvious is that if you receive any type of federal funding as a contractor and or a bid for Serve University, we work with counties, municipalities, grant training, what have you. Some was paid with us being a vendor because of a grant that a particular business or a nonprofit received in order to bring in our training, or that we need to write for their agency. Is that some of us were impacted by the federal changes last year, whether it was reduction of funding or elimination, whether it was chain supply, whether it's tariffs, whether it's our customers not having discretionary funds in order then to, they're cutting back in different ways, or it may be something different that has individualized what your disruption is. Maybe a senior executive is leaving the industry and they have a lot of institutional knowledge that they just do organically, but they have not trained or written down what those operating processes are. And as soon as they leave, matter of fact, 90 days before they leave, they're going to mentally check out. And so when we're kind of thinking about like what is disruptive times, it is unique for every organization that is on today's training. But in order to understand what disruptive landscapes are, what's happening today and what happened, can you believe literally like 6 years, like literally 6 years ago, like the world was crashing out, literally 6 years ago. It seemed like it was like 95. It was 6 years ago. And so 6 years ago, everyone was impacted pretty much the same way. It was a global pandemic, and we were trying to figure out how to keep doors open. We were taking in-person services, like how do we digitize it or do something virtually? I think we had all Zoom fatigue at one time. And so we were trying to collectively figure this out together. Nobody had a real answer or a strategy. And there was some sense of harmony in the chaos that everybody was going through it at the same time. Well, if we look at 2025 and here we are in 2026, now is systemic where it is maybe by industry and or different sectors. As you can see by the emoji poll, like we really can't figure out like if everybody is being impacted, but some people are riding the wave. And so now small businesses are feeling strategic contraction rather than crisis response. And then now what the disruption is around policy and economics versus what was a public health crisis. And so now what's happening is we have to show that our product or service is more worthy of someone's investment or someone purchasing our product before they even commit. There's more of a clearinghouse that we have to do with some of our businesses in order to get the contract, get the bid, get the sale. And so what's now our focus is being more intentional with our innovation to set ourselves apart from the pack because it's more competition within the same lane, within the same industry, within the same community, because we're all trying to survive. And so if we look at what was happening then and what's happening now, and then how do we kind of move forward with this? Where again, we were looking at the disruption, and now we have to figure out like we've got to move from reactive to a structural disruption. Again, that's by your industry and or by business. How are you responding as an organization? Now we have to think long-term planning. Now we have to think out maybe before it was day to day or week to week or month to month. Now we got to figure out like, well, how do we just survive to get through December the 31st? And so now when our community, which is our external stakeholders, like now we have to have this proof of concept or they have to believe that we are a credible source of whatever it is that our service industry represents. Like now we have to like do extra in order to gain trust. And when we're looking at the funding landscape, this is why we're going to have to diversify our revenue strategy. And we're going to talk about that when we're going to work through the workbook, is because now what is emerging is a lot of corporations and nonprofits going together for funding opportunities. One of my clients is Franklin Covey, the global professional development company. And so I work within the funding team at private funding. And so they have a framework where they work with school districts in some of their leadership training. And so previously, school districts was getting federal funding or Title I funding, and they would use it in order to purchase from a for-profit vendor in order to provide those leadership trainings inside the school. Well, since that avenue has been drawing up or eliminated, they're now looking at private sources in order to get funding. Well, some of these grant opportunities are with nonprofits that need to be the lead, they need to be the applicant. So we're working in a creative capacity where nonprofits and school districts are coming together in order to form new partnerships, long-term engagement partnerships, where they are going for a grant application. The for-profit company sees the opportunity, writing themselves into the grant and receiving a percentage of the award. And so this collective trifecta is coming together in order to pursue grants. Another example of that is when I was the state grant writer for Department of Juvenile Justice in Georgia. We had a lot of camera companies that those cameras went into the correctional and the detention centers. And of course, DJJ did not produce the actual said cameras, those technology companies did. So those technology companies would look at various different grant opportunities, contact us and say, hey, I think this is a great community partnership. We got the product. You can be the lead. We'll get it when you have to purchase those things. It's a completely allowable expense, a recommended partnership. Matter of fact, those grant applications ask who are your community partners, and community partners just doesn't have to stay in the lane of for-profit and or nonprofit or government. They can collectively come together to create this bigger impact. So we need to kind of take a look at like what is going to be our next journey through resilience, also looking at how do we diversify our revenue streams, and then how do we partner together to seek various different opportunities. So we really want to kind of take a look at the question, what are the resilient qualities that small business need amid disruptive landscapes? And again, your agency gets to define what that disruptive landscape is. Is it funding? Is it leadership? Is it organizational response? What is it? And so, just doing a little research about where resilience comes from, the theory was dated back to the 1970s in regards to looking at difficulty and how do organizations get through. They were coming off of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This is 10 years later, and how our communities like going through different changes and navigating through different experiences. And so, this system of organizational resilience has been looked at through organizations as well as nonprofits. And the the theme of it is trying to be adaptive and staying relevant during disrupted times, that there are a set of 6 resilient qualities needed for resilience during internal and external disturbances. And so I created this framework of what these 6 resilience qualities are, and we're going to learn about them and then work through them in our workbook. The number one resilient quality that every small business needs to have is this strong commitment to mission. What is your agency's mission statement? How does it exude through your product or service? How does your staff resonate? How are you becoming are echoing this customer loyalty in the community, that whatever industry that you're in, that people are drawn to buy repetitively or use your services again and again and again because they're drawn to the strong commitment of the mission of your agency. And then improvisation is all around using what you currently have in order to get to the next step. Are you scaling up a service or a product? Do you have human resources within your agency that can be cross-trained in order to develop new skills? How are you using existing resources in order to adapt and improvise? Community reciprocity is around this trust that the community can speak your name in rooms you have not even stepped in. How do they know you as this trusted, credible source within the community, that, oh, if I know that I want to go buy pens, I'm going to go to this particular company because they have the best gel pens. How do I know that I want to go to somebody has an ice cream shop? As you can tell, I want some sweets after today's class. But like, if I'm thinking about sweets, I'm going to go to a my favorite ice cream shop based on the flavors. I'm non-dairy vegan. Maybe they have gelato. Maybe they have peanut butter and chocolate chunk. Yeah, I want some ice cream after this. Thanks for the reminder. And then servant and transformational leadership. Like, how do you remove your ego as a leader and keep the focus on what it is that you're charged to do to overcome the obstacle and or take advantage of community partnerships and collaborative problem solving? There's probably a lot of the business owners on today's call that have similar issues that they may be going through that can collectively come together. I see this a lot with federal grant opportunities where it may be a national call for proposals, but then there are like 20 different people in the same community in a geographical region applying for the same opportunity. It was announced that maybe some chamber meeting and it's available, and like everybody's like, "Oh, I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to do my thing." And it shows to the national funder or the federal funder, like, yo, why didn't they just come together? A prime example of that is it Gordon Square, Gordon Park. I always get my Gordons confused. On the west side. The Playhouse district that's on the west side. Memory fades me right now. But when I was in the Cleveland Foundation, the Foundations for Philanthropy cohort a couple of years ago, we had like some site visits. And what I learned about that community is that they were experiencing like some low traffic. They needed new sidewalks, new handicap ramps at the crosswalks, new outdoor lighting, new signage, just to revitalize the community. And one of the theaters could have went for it and may or may not have gotten the award, but collectively the whole community went for this grant and they got a $5 million award to revitalize all of those storefronts and walkways and pathways and various different other things that they needed to improve the walkable business community, which ultimately, when an increase of people that come to the neighborhood means that there's going to be an increase of sales, which means that there may be an increase of employees that they need to hire, which means that there's an increase in the taxes that they pay, which continues to pour back into the community. So all of them had the same problem on that particular couple of blocks. But instead of like, I need this, they need this, she needs this, they collectively came together to solve a problem. Fiscal transparency is around having these open verbal and written conversations about business and fiscal statuses within your agency. Listen, if you are going to experience a closing and that's just your decision as an agency, or you're navigating through some times, having those conversations with your staff, initially you may say, well, if I tell them that we're going through hard times, then they're going to leave me. A possibility. But you also need to share with them things that are going well with the company at monthly town halls or newsletters and telling them that maybe you've increased sales by 10% or decreased sales by 3%. This also is a way to establish community reciprocity internally into your own organization. And then hope and optimism, where we're always focusing on opportunities instead of those barriers. So let's go for the first poll, which is centered around your survival instinct. Now, let me check the chat. So the first poll is going to be your survival instinct. When your business faces unexpected disruption, what's your, wait a minute, not that one. That's okay. When your business faces an uninterrupted disruption, what is your first move?
Hold on. Let me
That's
get the
okay.
right one.
Gotcha.
Right, so we want. Sorry, guys. I gotta do the right poll.
That's okay.
It's
Let
not
me know when
letting
you
me.
get the poll up and then we'll keep moving along.
Got it. Unexpected disruption.
Ah, there we go. Thank
Yep.
you. All
Okay.
right, let's take this poll. When your business faces an unexpected disruption, what is your first move? Are you doubling down on your mission and purpose? Are you getting creative with what you already have and you're improvising? Are you reaching out to your customers and or your community for support? Or are you reviewing your finances and cut or shift resources? Let me give you a couple of seconds to um, put your response in. All righty. Let's see. How do I see the responses, B?
One sec.
Okay, while you're pulling up those responses, let's go through the first resilience quality, which is mission. Oh, we've got the poll results.
Yes.
So it looks like most of us are getting creative with what you already have, which is improvising. Awesome. Then the next up is reaching out to your customers to check in with them, maybe offering them a promotion or inviting them into your business or sending out additional emails. And then the last one is review your finances and deciding how you're going to cut in or shift resources. But I see zero of those votes for doubling down on your mission and your purpose. Interesting. That's a first. Because what we have to really kind of look towards navigating through this is really taking a look at what our mission is, because we are getting connected with our customers in order to deepen that relationship and instill confidence in the purpose of why we were created, reminding people why it is that they bought their first product. How do we increase their knowledge about skincare or about the difference of a taste? I'm going to keep using ice cream. The difference of a taste of quality ice cream or the weird ice cream that even if you leave it out of the refrigerator, it does not melt. Like understanding like why people want to work for your organization, having testimonies about your employees on your website or through social media so people can get connected back to your mission. The second quality that a lot of you all scored high with was improvising. And this is again allowing you to innovate and take your existing resources so you can adapt rapidly through various changes. And so you can take your existing assets and able to be nimble and go with the ebb and flows of what's happening, whether it's internal or you're having external impacts within your business. This community reciprocity, again, this is this opportunity that when your customers or your clients or your neighbors trust your mission, they're going to become loyal or continue their loyal purchases of your programs and services or products. They trust what it is that you do. Some founders that I were following on social media last year, at the end of last year, they were being very transparent, and we're going to go into fiscal transparency in our fifth resilience quality. But they were talking about, hey, we're hitting Q4. And if we don't make our sales and our numbers, we may not be open in 2026. This is where we are now, and this is where we need to be, and we need your help. And so when the community like understood what the assignment was and they were already committed to their mission, they trusted that company and they had built trust and repertoire with that company. So when it was time for them to take a call to action to really continue on with their support, the business could go back to the community and the community trusted them. And it was a reciprocal relationship where the agent, the small nonprofit needed their support and the communities understood and responded accordingly. This servant and transformational leadership is really key, especially when we're looking at like crisis situation. It allows us to really start to come together and partner together. Someone in the same industry does not need to be your competitor. There are also ways where mentorship kind of plays into servant and transformational leadership, where not only that you can collaborate in various different projects, but you can also share best practices even within the same industry. And it allows our leaders to understand what's happening across the landscape. And it allows them to come together in a cohesive idea and possibly a long lasting, sustainable connection in order to navigate what those disruptive times may be. And then again, this is this fiscal transparency, having those conversations with your internal team, making sure that within every monthly and or quarterly a town hall meeting that you're having with your staff, even if you are one employee and you may have various contractors or you have a a roster of a small roster. I wouldn't just open it to all of your rosters, but a selected few of the rosters of your vendors to share with them if you are experiencing any decline in sales to see if there are ways to even see if the next order could be bulk. Is there maybe a net 90 day as opposed to a net 30 day that you can explore? These are also another way to communicate fiscal transparency with external stakeholders and internal stakeholders are annual reports or quarterly reports. This is giving those that are impacted by your business just a fiscal communication about what's happening so they can continue to instill trust and credibility into your agency. And then hope and optimism with everything that's going on within the broader community, understanding that we're going to be okay. And even when things are not okay, good things are going to happen. We just have to make sure that we are keeping a mindset of hope and optimism because if you start to stress out, your team is going to feel that energy and the pressure, and then that's going to resonate with into your customers and your community that danger is amiss. But if you are confident that yes, barriers and things are disruption is happening, but this is how we're going to navigate through it. This is how we may have navigated through other situations that were similar. And you may want to kind of think about retelling the story again about how you navigated through COVID. Because, see, either your business is here because you survived COVID, or your business was created as a result of COVID. And so you need to continue to tell that story, not only to yourself, but to your team as well as the community. So let's look at a couple of case studies. Maybe this resonates with you. That there was a bookstore. They, of course, were doing in-store sales. But when the pandemic happened, like 85% of their revenue dropped. And so they created virtual communities and online storefront. And they were reinforcing this community reciprocity as well as hope and optimism around the stories still continue to connect with us and reminding them of the true core values of their mission statement. And so, as we're looking at what's happening in today's landscape, like even though people are watching their wallets, that e-commerce infrastructure may be an option for some of your businesses in order to stabilize revenue because it may be a way that instead of the human resource, it may be a way to automate some of your organization's processes. Maybe it's a restaurant that we're looking at that has had a decline in dine-in traffic back during the pandemic closures and their revenue dropped. And so maybe they have their response to it was pay what you can. This was a way that customers could contribute more than what the price of the meal was or to pay it forward. This brings the community in. They were weekly updating on their social media and or email newsletters. Some of us need to talk more to our customers through our emails. Just sharing what the journey is because it builds trust and loyalty. You can take a page out of like your favorite social media person that you may follow online. You've probably watched their journey over years of time that they have become some type of trust and loyalty. I brand myself as your favorite grant writer. And so some of you all met me through the Jumpstart pitch competition, the 20th anniversary at the House of Blues. That was 2 years ago. I can't believe that was 2 years ago. And so maybe some of you all have met me somewhere along the journey online. And so you begin to trust me as this loyal, trusted expert in the grantsmanship place because I kept showing up, being transparent, sharing what my journey is. And so this is how you can kind of stay connected with partnerships. This is our third year with the deep dive series. This is our third year with webinars connecting with Jumpstart. So we've got to kind of think of ways of how do we connect with the community. So this reciprocity and this mutual support, where we're prioritizing our community's well-being, and then we're open and transparent about some of our challenges. And then within fiscal transparency, maybe it's a fitness studio, again, being in person, shifting to virtual live stream classes, cross training instructors so they can provide services. It was a way for them to innovate and redesign and meet new conditions. And the cross training was contributed to the transformational leadership and it allowed their staff to take on new roles. And they were always having these conversations about their financial realities, not only with the staff members, but they were also having community conversations. And so, as we're looking at labor costs rising, is there a way for your organization to cross train staff in order to maintain efficiency? And then we're looking at all three of these scenarios. Those are the resilient qualities. Again, mission is going to be at the top, improvisation, fiscal transparency, the servant and transformational leadership, and community reciprocity is always going to rise to the top. Now, you can take this survey as you would like. There's a QR code with a online questionnaire about resilience qualities. I'm going to show you the results to that survey, but if you're interested in taking that survey for your own agency, that survey is there. And I've deployed this survey since 2001 with small businesses and nonprofits in order to really kind of take a look at where do organizations lie with their resiliency. Like I said, mission should be the first on your list to do if you are going, if everything hits the wall, you always should revert back to your mission, even though the business minded part of us is like, okay, let me look at my finances and figure out how I can shift some things around, or how do I get creative? Like we got to check in with the heartbeat of what brought us to this idea to create this small business. But let's look at who took it, who took the survey. We're looking at internal folks. We're looking at our team. We're looking at people in the same industry. You may have an advisory board or board of directors of your corporation. And then external stakeholders are around our customers and our business partners and those that have been consultants in this industry that have a working knowledge of what organizations go through when they're headed through disruptive times. And so some of the questions from the questionnaire is again asking agencies around mission and improvisation and leadership and fiscal transparency. And what are your responses to when disruptive times are happening to your organization? And so, again, the highest response was always around mission. There's evidence that your community, when reminded why they purchase the product or service from your community, it's because they love you. When agencies and organizations launch new products in response to what the community needs, what that tells the community is like, hey, they've actually heard what it is that we need. And they're also showing resilience that they are not folding right now, may not ever fold, but they're responding to what it is that we need and developing a new product or service. One of the products or services that I developed in this space in the last 2 years was I pulled back out my research from 2020 about resilience qualities because we saw a dip in our training last year. But when it came to grant writing, but resilience qualities and talking about resilience qualities has been my number one book services. I developed a new product to respond to the community needs of small businesses and nonprofits being defunded, rescinded, or grant funding wasn't as available as it was during the pandemic that it is now. And then this community reciprocity is when, of course, the community loves you and your organization has a reputation for an open attitude, especially around change. And so the lowest average, where organizations didn't quite know what to do, they were paralyzed by fear and they didn't know how to improvise or how to talk to their staff to share bad news. Or in that crisis, that they may have had to make the tough decision to close their doors. And when things were getting tough, the community, when you went to go ask, you hadn't been updating them and talking to them. It was just a buy my product and services. It was low on the thank you. Some of you all may need to consider in this time to go on a thankathon. What that means is that you are contacting your customers randomly and calling them and telling them thank you, asking them how did they like their program and your program or service, maybe deploying a survey, maybe giving them a 10% off coupon in order to come back in and purchase XYZ. When was the last time that you thanked your customer? And so understand we hear these words interchangeably, but it overcooks my grits when I hear it. Resiliency is an individual personality trait. Resilience is a process. And so I'm going to help you build that process coming up. But when we kind of take a look at resilience, we need to remember that an inspired mission is the central resilience quality for sustaining engagement, and our reputation for being reliable and having an open attitude and responsive to the community needs is key. Making sure that we have this ability to improvise and innovate no matter what's happening internally or externally within our business and our community. And so, a little advice, making sure that you have a clear mission and you're repeating it as often as possible to remind your customers why they fell in love with you. And you have to have this adaptability and capacity to innovate and improvise when the going gets tough. And then thinking of this shared resource model that you can literally reach across the aisle, reach across the community to see if there is a collective way to come together. Even though I'm going to take this ice cream example, I'm going to run this ice cream example because I want some. let's take for existence, don't look at my email. Let's take for instance that each one of your businesses has a national day. Perhaps if you have a ice cream business, that maybe you and a couple of other businesses come together for National Ice Cream Day. It's hot in July, great time to have ice cream. Maybe you could collectively come together and offer a 5% coupon code in the month of July that you can maybe do like a hole punch. And if you go to all four of the ice cream shops, then maybe you get 5% off of your first ice cream. And then after you've gone to all four of them, then you can pick the ice cream shop of your choice in order to get one small cup of ice cream or what have you. Like you kind of need to think about like that's going to bring customers into your store. That's going to create a fun experience for families to go visit all of these ice cream shops. Kids are going to love it. Kids may ask their parents like, "Ooh, can we do that again?" Like you want to kind of think about like what is the national day within your industry to see if there's a way for all of your community partners that are in the same industry for you to come together and perhaps think of something collectively to do. Again, this strong commitment to mission, making sure that you're focused on collaborative partnerships and always focusing on this hope and optimism when you're navigating. You really want to make sure you are conducting ethical business practices and you have a leadership centric mindset where, again, you're taking your own self ego out of the situation and looking at the collective of how we need to help and to support others that also may be going through this. Also, we need to get back outside. The weather is kind of warming up here in a couple of weeks coming up, but making sure we are going to chamber meetings, HOA meetings, community meetings. I know I'm in Atlanta now because I'm a snowbird, but I'm coming back in April to go to the Cleveland Foundation has their philanthropy summit in April. And so coming back home and networking and getting reconnected with community organizations, and then also pouring to your own professional development. I definitely recommend that business owners take at least 1 to 2 professional development training opportunities. You already here on one Jumpstart, checking their events calendar to make sure that you sign up for as many opportunities as you can, and then be active in some in-person sessions as well, because now is the time to expand your skill set, to not only upskill yourself, but also upskill your workforce and provide them also with learning and training days, not always necessarily around their actual compliance, business compliance for the agency, but also upskilling workforce also is around team building days and how we learn how those soft skills of how we learn to interconnect and be a real team player, especially when we need it the most. So, are we ready for our, and I just talked through this, are we ready for our next poll? Let's take a look at our next poll while Fee is pulling that up. And it is around what is the hardest to maintain. Let's kind of take a look at this. What's the hardest to maintain? Which resilient quality, after we went through all 6, is the hardest to maintain consistently in your business? What's the hardest? Is it saying optimistic when revenue is uncertain? Is it being transparent about your finances? Is it innovating quickly with limited resources, or building strong community trust? Cast your answer. Let's see what we got here.
I'm going to do a full minute so people can respond. I see the responses coming in. We're halfway done.
Awesome. And as you're putting in your responses, let's take this moment to also take yourself off of mute, or you can put it in the chat. Share with me your thoughts, or we can take maybe about one or two questions that I can help you navigate through thinking about your resilience qualities and either what resonates high within your agency and or where areas that you think that your agency needs to work towards. Looking at the poll responses, staying optimistic when revenue is uncertain. Yes, yes. Being transparent about finances does not have a vote. Yes. And that could be hairy and scary sometimes because you have to remain like vulnerable and actually have those conversations. Now, I'm not saying show everybody your P&L sheet, but just having those, people love a thermometer. If you have a target goal or if you're experiencing challenges, people love a hero story. Hey, this is how we were down on the chips. This is what we're doing to try to navigate it. And either you achieved it or you didn't. But people like to follow their journey. I was hearing once about a casting agent that was looking at like different clients to determine who they were going to sign onto their agency because they were like the whoop to do when it came to Hollywood agents. And the reason why people, I think it was the agent for Michael B. Jordan that just won the Oscar. And it wasn't about like how many times he wasn't nominated, but at the young age of him being in his 30s, he has over 60 movie credits under his belt. And the agent was talking about it wasn't how many times that you fail or didn't get the awards, it's how many times you went up to bat. And so when you kind of think about like how are you thinking about hope and optimism and being innovative with your resources, there is a level of vulnerability that you may want to consider having with your internal and external stakeholders. We've got the second on the list was innovating quickly with limited resources. We're going to go through some of these exercises with each one of these resilient qualities so you can figure out within your own business, like how can I step into a new resilience quality that I may not have discovered, and then building strong community and trust. What I find with a lot of founders and small businesses is that because we have our head in the weeds where we are like doing the work, we have to also focus on like really talking to our community. And for some of you all, it may just picking up the phone or designating someone to pick up the phone to say thank you to your customers. Let's open the line for questions or some feedback before we shift into the workbook. You can put it in the chat or take yourself off of mute. Okay, I'll circle back into the chat to see if you have any questions with that. Now, I'm going to toggle between the answer key as well as the fanciness of the actual workbook. This workbook, not to get me vertical, but this is the resilience quality framework e-workbook that you can self-pace through outside of this class and deliver your own or create your own deliverables that refreshes you back over the resilience qualities. That's the first couple of pages. We're going to jump, which we've already gone through. We're going to jump to the nexus of what the learning is around how do we actually start to work on our resilient qualities. And let's just think about like if we are looking at funding opportunities for our small businesses and we're looking to diversify our revenue streams in order to partner with other businesses or nonprofits to look at opportunities. So I'm going to give you a case example because, of course, I'm a grantsman at heart. I'm going to give you a case example. Let me pull this up. Not that one. This one. Wait, let me make sure. Why is that drive? Did someone erase? Oh, 1 second. Give me a thumbs up if you can see the documents in the drive because it looks like they are gone now. Give me a thumbs up if you can see them because that's weird. Can you see them? Or did someone accidentally erase them? Because if that's the case, I need to add them back in.
I can see them now.
They can see them now?
I can. I clicked out and clicked back in, and they were there.
Hmm, interesting. Okay. If you can see them on your side, then we'll keep going. On my side, for some reason, I can't see them. Welcome to the world of technology. That's one thing that I can tell you is Dr. Brandi, I can write you $1 million grant. Technology, not my ministry. I do the best that I can. All right, let me erase this. They are gone now.
Oof.
And they all disappeared. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Hold on 1 second. Let's fix that because you need to. Let's do this. The reason why I left it on the view because I wanted you to be able to download them, but I may have to lock it up in just a second. Hold on 1 second. There should be the invitation. There should be the 90-day. I got you. Hold on. Let's open up the chat for some questions while I do this. Does anybody have any questions?
Tyler had a question. What would micro doses of resilience building look like, particularly in systems of silos? Is there a pacing for resilience?
Give me a little bit more context, meaning like you shouldn't run all six cylinders at one time. Like we gotta kind of like choose the top ones in order to focus on. I would really focus on one resilient quality at a time, to make sure that you are that you're focusing on maybe you as an agency could pick one or two resilient qualities to work on. For a lot of us, it may be strong commitment to mission, which also pours into the community reciprocity, because as you are talking to the community and telling them about why they fell in love with you, they're going to start building trust and credibility. So you can work both of those prongs at the same time. Does that help answer your question?
Fortunately, we can't speak live, so just put it in the
Put it in
chat
the chat.
team.
Gotcha. I want to make sure you have all your resources. So if you're refreshing that Google Drive link, let me put that back in there as well. And you can download it, but do not, for the sake of all of us, like, don't erase it or put it in the trash can thinking you may be putting it in something else. So let me double check to make sure all of those resources are there. The answer key, the invitation, let's see, the workbook, and the template. And I got to find one more, which is the actual webinar. Let's see if that did it.
I see five
Just check.
now.
Gotcha. Let me make sure. Okay. We should be back in the pocket. Let's go ahead and refresh. And all of your resources should be back in there. There should be, let me check them in the drive. There should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the drive. Give me a thumbs up in the chat that you are can access all 5 of them. So, okay, I see what's happening. Some of you are duplicating them, so I'm going to have to change it to a viewer mode. And at the end, I will share with you my email. And if you'd like to have a digital copy of this for your own records, then I can email that to you. But I see where some technology is taking place. All right, let's keep rocking out. See, there's a way to innovate and focus on hope and optimism as we're rocking out through this. All right. So back to what we were talking about. We're going to take a look at like how do we apply this to like a grant writing opportunity if we're looking at diversifying our revenue, because for a lot of our agencies, like disruption is around money. So let's have this conversation around grants. Let's have this conversation of how we can uplift our resilience qualities in grant writing and how we can use grant funding to help us navigate through some disruptive times. Yes, yes. And so let's use this case example of Truist Foundation. Now, I'm going to drop this opportunity into the chat. I'm also going to drop in the chat the link one more time to the Google Drive, and then everybody should have their technology. There we go. Now we're cooking with avocado oil. All right, let's go. This opportunity, as we're talking about resilience, and oopsie, clicked the wrong button. As we are looking at resilience and we're looking at collaborative partnerships, and like I had stressed earlier, like now is the time that corporations and nonprofits are coming together in order to look and seek for funding opportunity. In this case example that we're going to talk about today, this is an opportunity that if you are an agency that does financial literacy, or if you do any training, or you have an industry where you're looking for skilled workers and you can create a training manual, and maybe you're in manufacturing, or maybe you're in the health and wellness business, or maybe you're in, I have this partnership now where I've worked with an agency in Cleveland to create the first certified doula program with high school students at a CMSD. And they are a nonprofit that has partnered with a for-profit agency that is the certified doula training. So we were able to get funding support from a nonprofit. The nonprofit funder gave to the nonprofit agency that served as the lead, and a percentage of that grant award went to actually pay for the for-profit entity, which is the certified doula training business. And so looking at ways to upskill high school students, they're already underemployed. They're already unemployed as being 18-year-old high school students. They are taking non-traditional educational pathways through a health career pathways at their particular high school. And so we are helping connecting with them through employers, as well as we are connecting with a individual that has that's a financial advisor that also helps provide financial education and literacy training to different organizations, as well as we have a banker that is able to, if at some point in time that those new doulas are looking to scale their business, how to get access to capital. Matter of fact, Fee, this may be an opportunity that you may want to look at for Jumpstart, because this also is around increasing access to capital. Look at that. And
I'm on
so
it. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And so we got to kind of think outside of the box, like how do we come together as a collective partnership to look for funding opportunities? So again, if we're looking at this strong commitment to mission, we also have to think about, like, do we have a clearly defined mission statement that was no, Elizabeth. Access to capital programs was for organizations with revenue for greater than $500,000. Not necessarily. Access to capital is dependent on the said funder of how much money that they want to give to those small businesses and that capital amount. Now, capital programs is something else. Yes, through Jumpstart. They have great example. Jumpstart has their own definition of access to capital for businesses that have greater than $500,000. But a lot of small businesses received access to capital, and they weren't grossing over 500,000. So we have to check the funder's mission to find out what their funding opportunities are. And so we want to kind of think about through our mission, does your mission talk about, like, what problem does our mission solve, and what benefits that we create as a result of someone buying our product or service? And how does our mission align with the funder's strategy? And then we have to develop this clear narrative that connects our programs with measurable community outcomes. If the funder is talking about, like, they are supporting underemployed and unemployed individuals, that they're looking to upskill and forward economic mobility, like, what is it that we're doing? Developing a clear mission statement also is around metrics that we need to quantify what our outcomes are as a result of someone purchasing our product or services. We can't continue to tell this qualitative story, because us as business owners, we're like very passionate about what we do. But when we put numbers that we're served, we have XYZ number of customers, or we took a pre survey and a post survey. Did you guys realize that when you go to restaurants and when you check out, and if you're in the Stripe system or whatever point of sale that they have, and your text is in there, or your cell phone number is, and they text you like, take our survey, is it a smiley face or is it a frown face? Like, if I've worked with restaurants and helped them get restaurant grants. And one of the question is, talk to us about our customer satisfaction of your patrons coming to your restaurant. Like, did you know, like, that is an actual survey, a smiley face or a frown face? That's it. And so you can look at those metrics out of Square to say 95% of our customers in 25 and 2025 was highly satisfied with our food service delivery. Those thumbs up, those Google reviews, those actually make a difference. I have a Google review that I've got a 5-star Google review rating, 5 stars on Google review. Now I can talk about that in like, what are your outcomes and measurements? How did people increase their knowledge and change their behavior as a right of or way as a result of your grant writing services? I can demonstrate that it says XYZ number of customers have come to our trainings, and a percentage of them have increased their knowledge and or have changed their behavior as a result. Let's take a look at improvising. Like, how quickly can your organization like adapt to change? And what is your strategy around using your existing assets that can be used in different ways? And what systems can you adjust or tweak a little bit in order to um, respond to the changing circumstances? And then how can you create these operational processes to allow your organization to pivot and implement new strategies? And so if we're looking at the grant opportunity, what assets, like, we can launch a new program within 60 days or a new product within 60 days if we are trying to improvise. You need to look at kind of your business practices to find out, like, it shouldn't take you more than 60 days to scale a product, not to take you out of the scope of what you're doing, or create something innovative as a response to what's happening in your landscape. Like, you should have something in a back pocket that it may not be your core business service now, but if you need to activate a plan, then that would be an additional plan. What existing assets could be used in different ways? You can do both in person customers through your brick and mortar, but how robust and how up to date is your e-commerce? And then what type of partnerships that you can share, and is your staff cross-trained in order to run the operations? I have several consultants that help me with grant writing, but while I am in today's training, I have another grant writer that is on a strategy called extracting information from a client that has a federal grant that's due on Thursday, and they just called us yesterday. But I've cross-trained my team in order to have those conversations, in order to have them. And then what are your systems that you can enable rapidly to make those adjustments? Like, do you have software? Are you having meetings? Do you have strategy review sessions? Do you have automation that will allow you to adjust rapidly? And then again, we just talked about cross-functioning innovation. And then what are those clear decision-making protocols? Again, with this community reciprocity, how does the community look at you and say, you know what? I got a taste for some ice cream. I'm going over here. You know what? I have an event coming up and I want to go and buy something new. I know that such and such may have that as well. I'm thinking about like restructuring my organization. I'm thinking about XYZ firm that actually does it. How does the community validate your work and think of you first? And you can do that through partnerships, going to different and joining different chambers, posting on your own social media and LinkedIn what's happening with your industry and speaking about it, and strengthening your community partnerships that engage in your program effectiveness and demonstrate your credibility to funders because funders know we can't do this work alone. We know we can't do this work alone. And so, what type of action steps are we taking in order to provide this community reciprocity that we become the trusted, credible source? And so, when we're kind of thinking about like the positive feedback. I just gave you the example with restaurants of how participants can talk back to the business and having testimonies. One of the things that you could do with your customers is bring 4 customers in and record 3 videos. 4 customers recording 1 minute videos, 3 videos, that's 12 videos. And so now what those videos need to be is a customer needs to tell you about just what their overview of what your business does. They can say thank you to the community for the continued support. And the third video can be your dealer's choice. It could be a tour of your brick and mortar. It can be a virtual tour of them pointing out what are their favorite things on the website. They can actually show them actually being a brand ambassador and using your product or service or sitting in your restaurant. You get to decide what those 3 videos are and give them some type of incentive to do as such. You can do it all one day. You have $1,000 camera right here. Don't hire a camera crew. That's not necessary. If you want to, have at it. But you can do it as a pilot with your actual cell phone. And then you can start sharing those videos on social media as well as on a newsletter. You've got 12 videos. You can run those 12 videos and rinse and remix them. People have a short-term memory. Like you can run those videos every 12 weeks, just redo it and put it in a newsletter. Or you can release a video once a month in your monthly newsletter. Or where it is Black Friday, there are between 10 and 12 Fridays between the Friday after Labor Day to Black Friday. Run a video every week in order for people to learn and recommit to your mission. Did you know that Christmas decorations and Christmas commercials come out in September? Because your audience needs to see marketing 6 to 8 times in order to invest in it. And so, what strengthens your service delivery? You want to talk about how you're having collaborative efforts. Again, you're talking and having customer feedback and surveys. You may have a focus group. And you're also focusing on community partnerships. And maybe you're doing career day in the schools. Imagine how your kids would be excited to go back home to talk about the actual career that they learned and that parent actually patronizing your business. Servant and transformational leadership. This is an opportunity where you can decide like how are you communicating your organization's mission? How are you engaging your staff into various different decision makings? And how is leadership encouraging innovation and collaboration? And then how are you encouraging each other to not only get cross-trained, but also keep the focus on the mission of the organization and removing your ego from those practices. And so it's more of a team effort. Now, I'm not saying to allow people to make top level decisions, but if you are having a corporate volunteer day, if you are deciding if you want to have a bonus day for them to maybe take off a half a days in the summers. Maybe it is you're launching a new product and you want to use your staff as the first pilot to get their feedback on them as a focus group. We have to think of ways in order to really start engaging and strategically planning and also around brainstorming sessions within not only our our internal teams, but also our community. That's where we're talking around focus groups. And then establishing these clear communication channels. We often hear about this open door policy, but we also want to make sure that there is this ebb and flow of we are providing this trusted atmosphere where they can feel confident in talking to leadership and where they're not penalized or their thoughts are dismissed, but there's a way to also share their thoughts with the broader staff in order to share that we've heard from this person, or you can remain it anonymous to show that we are listening to the collective's thoughts and ideas. Again, with this fiscal transparency, where we're really kind of having these conversations about finances. That wasn't even ranked within the polls that we were talking about. Like, how are we communicating what's happening within our community when it comes to our finances? Are we talking to them about, again, our highs and our lows? And this also establishes trust. And so when we're also thinking about communicating with funders, and it may be a conversation about capacity, they may be asking questions about your staff's capacity and some of your business practices, making sure that if a particular grant comes in for your agency, and it may be that some staff are charged to a grant, or in the example of the doula program, that doula is responsible, that doula trainer is responsible for going to get their actual doula bags for these students to start practicing on, that they have a budget that they can buy items at up to $125, including tax, per bag. And so that allows the actual person that is responsible for that to submit their purchase order of things that they need to purchase. But it provides them with this detailed budget, and it empowers them to be creative. When I have $125, I can buy in bulk. I can see if I can get some things gifted to us. I can be really creative, and I feel like I have some ownership as opposed to being a hired consultant just coming in and delivering the work. And again, as an agency, you really want to make sure you're tracking expenditures, that you have financial summaries, and you're sharing it with your possibly your vendors and or your staff or your board. And then again, this hope and optimism, making sure that you're communicating this vision within the staff, and you're framing your challenges as opportunities, and you're cultivating this organizational culture that promotes possible thinking and strategic opportunities for recognition. And so, as we're kind of thinking about, again, as I gave you the example, like, how are we collectively coming together to solve our problems? How are we sharing our ebb and flows? Because, like, again, everybody loves a hero story. How do we get through the tough times? How are we working together? How are we trying different things? Things may not work, but there's one idea that's really going to ignite, and documenting those journeys is really that success story that really has people buying into the mission, falling back in love with your business, of why they actually chose you as their vendor of choice to do X, Y, Z for their life and or their business as well. So you again want to bring your team back in. You want to collaborate with partners. You may want to connect with mentors to find out how they navigated through this. And you want to have these strategic discussions of how you're looking at ways. And you would be surprised how connecting with a mentor or talking with your employees that are really the boots on the ground that are actually doing the work could actually give you a new perspective of how to navigate through those challenges. So in the next 90 days, there's a template for you to take a look at a way to like how would you chart out your next 90 days? What type of action step or who would be responsible and when would you get it done? We're approaching Q2 in 2 weeks. And it's our opportunity to not only like take a breath from 2025 to really kind of look at what happened, but also how we are tracking towards our goals in Q1 and what type of pivots or innovations or community partnerships or conversations we need to have with our teams in order to map a different way forward as we navigate through, for some of us, disruptive times. So I want you to take yourself off of mute to kind of think about someone had asked the question a couple of minutes ago, like let me go back to your question. Somebody had asked about like, how do you microdose through different resilient qualities um, that may seem a little overwhelming, but like how do you take it in bite-sized pieces? And this one pager allows you to choose one action steps or maybe two. But I kind of want to hear from you after, you've gone through the lesson plan and kind of thought about your own organizational resilience. Which one of these resilient qualities would you look towards to being something that you would look to achieve to try in Q2?
And I did change the settings, so you just have to unmute now and you can
You can
speak.
unmute, yes, or if you're in a place where you can't take yourself off of mute, you can put it in the chat. And I can also take questions that you may have and the feedback that you may have about your resilience qualities overall. What are some things that are challenging you, or what are some things that you're thriving well in?
For me,
And who's me? Let's
so
first start.
sorry. My name
It's
is
okay.
My name is Hannah Shafransky. Some people know me as Smith.
Awesome.
But yeah. Um, for me, over the last year, I have definitely hit a lot of these.
Hmm.
And more recently, trying to get more community reciprocity. I've kind of built my brand over the last year. So now just being a part of the community instead of just being outside looking in, kind of um, trying to figure out how I can make my partnerships work for not only me, but the people I'm partnered with.
Awesome. So your first action step in order to get back outside because the weather is warming up. We love a summer and fall in Cleveland. What would be one action step or two that would get you reconnected into the community?
So I recently just became an ambassador. So I'm doing some speaking engagements for
Hmm.
Columbus Young Professionals
Oh, cool.
and the Central Ohio Belonging Consortium. So there's two engagements next week with that. So I think just kind of putting my name and my face back out there and into the community, kind of, coming out of the winter time.
Absolutely
So,
awesome. So, what would be the what do you want to achieve going? Because one thing about networking, it's like the gym. It's like, oh, the hardest part is actually getting there. Then you got to
yes,
actually do the workout. So,
right.
what are you going to do in those spaces to connect?
Um, So to connect, I guess just I connect with people when I'm the type of person where I need to learn about you before I can connect with you, just because of
Okay.
my introverted nature.
Okay.
And so I try and basically just have conversations about, what do you do? And then I tell you what I do, and just try and make more of a natural flow of the conversation for networking. My background's
Okay.
in HR, so I've Worked in HR for over 16 years. So just being personable and having these conversations, and making introductions, or um, you know, finding similarities
Mhm.
to be able to connect with different businesses and community leaders, and just I try to be very personable, if that answers your question at all.
Sure, sure. Are you open to some recommendations?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome sauce. Couple of things. I always have intention. If I have to go outside the house and like put on real clothes and like draw on my eyebrows, like I'm going out
Mhm.
for intention. And so, a couple of things that I make sure that if I'm looking to partner with, and it's okay because it sounds kind of selfish, but it's really not. It's the nexus of what networking is. What partners am I looking for? Am I looking for me, if I'm going out to network, I'm going to out to network because I have intent to connect with three different businesses or nonprofits that are looking for either grant writing or grant training. Because I, like you said, I'm going to listen to what their needs are, and then
Mhm.
I'm going to I'm going to offer support where I can.
Yes.
So I have my quantitative deliverable, because we always talk about outcomes. If I'm coming out
Mhm.
the house, I need to have an outcome. So I want to connect
Right.
with three people that are looking for grant writing and or grant training. The second thing that I'm doing is making sure that my LinkedIn is up to date.
Hmm.
And when I mean by LinkedIn is up to date, I may post an article, I may do a retweet, I may do a 1 minute video that's talking about what it is that I'm doing. So when those people, the next thing people are going to do once you exchange information is they're going to go look you up online. And so I want to have something current and relevant there, whether it's on my
I like that.
website or my LinkedIn or what have you. And then also, I want you to consider various elevator pitches. And what that means is that in one breath, I can say who I am and what it is that I do without it being salesy. Hey, how are you doing? My name is Dr. Brandi. Yeah, I'm a grant writer professional. I work with small businesses and nonprofits, and I help them get connecting with funding opportunity. And I also help them evaluate their resilience qualities so they can increase revenue, increase and diversify their revenue, get connected to their community partner, and really get their organization ready for granting opportunities. How about you? And so,
Oh,
in one breath, I can say who I am, what I'm doing, and also giving them an opportunity to share. So, I want you to kind of think about like, how do I create a quick little pitch that I have a response that I'm ready to respond. Because again, if I have intention that I'm looking for three community partners, then I have to have a response that invites them into looking more into the services that I have to offer, but also listening to how I can help to support their mission as well.
yeah, no, I like that. I like those suggestions, especially the LinkedIn one, because I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I don't always, I offer different services, speaking engagements and a bunch of different things, a bunch
Hmm.
of different products throughout my company, and services, and other distinct, like other things as well, advocacy, as well. So not every networking event that I'm going to is relevant to what the last thing that I posted on LinkedIn is. So I do appreciate that, and that is a good idea to do
Absolutely.
that. So
Awesome sauce. Thank you for sharing.
sure, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I see Jennifer says it's been such a hard fall winter seasonality of shop just celebrated year 3 in business. Whoop whoop. So I think it is hope optimism that I want to focus on Q2. Okay, Jennifer, if you feel comfortable taking yourself off the mute and or posting in the chat, what does hope and optimism look like for you where you're focusing on the opportunities instead of the challenges? What does that look like? And how can you quantify that in an action step? And then when you're going to get it done
Thanks. Yeah. This is Jennifer.
in your business?
I'm like Gary Scoops, the ice cream shop.
Ah, yes, yes,
So
yes.
yeah. So, I mean, I make baked goods and treats as well.
Oh,
So,
yummy.
I'm working on building up other clients in the area for selling baked goods and treats. So, I have like Near West Theater. I help sell, or I sell product at their concessions, as well as
Ooh, yummy.
Cleveland Public Theater. Yes. So I think I've taken most of the fall and winter to look into other collaborations, and I'm continuing to do that. Um, so I think, yeah, I liked that I never even thought about hope and optimism as a one of the resilience qualities. So I'm not exactly sure, how I'm going to approach it. I think just staying focused on, you know, continuing to build networking and uh, yeah, and just kind of just pushing forward. Really, I mean, it really is just get up every day and try to do better than the next, than the day before. So um,
Absolutely.
so I think that, but it's good to know, like, that's actually one of the six things. I think I've been very transparent fiscally with people around me.
Hmm.
Um, I am in the Gordon Square Arts District, so that was
Oh,
kind of
yes,
fun that
yes,
you
yes,
mentioned that. Yeah,
yes,
so
yes.
we have a merchants group that we meet monthly, and
Yep.
so Dingus Day is a big day. It's Easter Monday, so there's a big celebration in the neighborhood. So we're working on building kind of the community and event for the day there. So I'm partnering with a couple of businesses, because people don't necessarily come for treats that day; they come for
Sure.
adult beverages. So,
Okay.
so
So let me ask you this. Are you
yeah,
open to some recommendations?
yes,
Do you have an email list?
I do. Yes.
Okay. When's the last time you talked to your email list?
So personally, it's probably been a few months.
Okay. Now
We
is
do,
time
yeah.
then. Now is a good time to reconnect with them because you have an interesting story. Um, or how did you already said it was been a tough, you're in year three.
Yes.
You need to tell your email list and your social media list that you're celebrating year three. That's number one. And
Mm,
it comes with a thank you. Thank you for keeping us in business, not in these words, but thank you for keeping us in business for the last 3 years.
mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
also sharing the story of how you navigate through fall and winter. That is another story that you can tell because I guarantee you, just like our previous business owner says, like, I'm just now coming out, like, you can send emails to your customer list and invite them to the community event that's coming up as a celebration. Put
Mm-hmm.
balloons out if you are, if you have a booth or they're walking, I don't know where exactly where your business is, but like turn it into your own birthday party or your anniversary party and like blow it out and celebrate it and bring people in, but also leading up to it. And it's completely okay if you haven't talked to people in 3 months. It's totally cool. Or if your social media is more personal, or if you're inactive, you can start it tomorrow and start telling the conversation of, I'm interested in knowing how you navigated through the winter season. And now that you're celebrating and there's like this time bound event, I would be excited to, since I may not have been there during the colder months, this may be my opportunity to get back outside and connect with ice cream. So when we're thinking about like hope and optimism, and we're all thinking about these action steps, Yes, we know what we need to do and to have to stay focused on, but putting a deliverable action step next to it and quantifying and putting a time bound goal around it, like we all know what SMART goals are. Like this gets us like in the shifting from thought theory into action and activity where we can produce a result and then we can measure, did that result, was that result effective, or like do we need to tweak something else? So really, Jennifer, kind of think about like you have this big community event happening, you're celebrating 3 years, like how can you maximize on this community opportunity, and also think about a way to collect even more email addresses. Maybe it's through Square and it's a point system or what have you, or it's just a plain piece of paper, sign up, put your email, or drop your email, fill out this card and drop it into this box, and we'll select who will get two free scoop of ice cream each week in the month of July or something. Like think about
Yeah.
how you can innovate what you already have, which is the community event, and
Hmm.
really trying to maximize and bring in that community reciprocity as well.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we do. I have social media postings almost daily. So that is a good, but we
There
can
you
be
go.
more intentional. I think sharing the story of the fall and winter will be great. And then
Absolutely.
we added online ordering this past fall. So they actually, the third party sends out like, so I haven't sent like a personal email, but every month they send out a, you know, spend 10% or spend X amount of dollars and get a discount on blah, blah, blah. So I think that has helped as well. So I appreciate all your feedback and
Awesome.
advice. Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, let's take our last and final poll to see where you are with this. Is that if revenue dropped tomorrow by half, which strategy would you try first? What are you ready to do? Launch a new product or service in the next 60 days, partner with another business and share resources, communicate openly with your community, or focus on strengthening brand messaging and mission. Let's take a quick moment to cast your vote, because now we are starting to equip ourselves with these resilience qualities. So we have this way of figuring out like, hey, the weather is getting warmer outside. There's an opportunity to reconnect with our community, but also we may look at a way to be innovative and creative, even with our social media, in order to get the word out, because consumerism is going to go up in the summertime because people are going to have start to like come out of hibernation. So the first thing that folks are going to do is partner with other businesses to share resources. Awesome. Next up is focus on strengthening brand messaging. Great. Next up is launch a new product and services, but we still got to get comfortable with communicating openly with customers and stakeholders. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And so for some of us, our next step in this journey is like, how do we plan out these next 90 days? Oops, that was my time to remind me. How do we plan out our next 90 days in order to like really put a development and a strategic plan of how we are going to increase these resilient qualities? How are we looking for funding opportunities? How are we really kind of coming together as a collective to figure out like what is going to be our next step in diversifying our revenue to make sure that we have kind of like this safety net in order to ensure that maybe we're partnering with other businesses, maybe we are developing a mission, and then how all of that pours into an opportunity for grant writing. So there is an opportunity for you to connect with us since Q2 is coming up pretty quickly in these next couple of weeks. And so if your time permits, you can come hang out with us on Saturday, March the 28th, with other small businesses and nonprofits to learn how we create a strategy around resilience as well as grant writing. And so that opportunity is also available for you through the QR code, or the invitation is in the Dropbox, and you can get 50% off of registration. And so, for those of you all that may be having additional questions, I want to leave my contact information so you can get in contact with me. I'm also going to drop the direct link to that course if you would like to come out and hang out with us on the 28th. Let me drop that in the chat real quick. But there's also an opportunity that if you want to close all of my notes, connect with me in the community in order to bolster your resilient qualities, whether you're a nonprofit or a small business, or you're a small business looking to connect with nonprofits to look at ways to diversify your revenue streams, or just make friends in the community. You can definitely send me an email or connect with me on my website. I'm on all socials in order for you to connect. And you can also scan this nifty, difty QR code to go directly to my website to get more information. But it has been an extreme joy to connect with you today on the 6 resilient qualities small business need amid disruptive landscapes. Today, you learned about the 6 resilient qualities that every organization needs to navigate disruptive times, whether it's that strong commitment to a mission, improvisation, community reciprocity, servant and transformational leadership, fiscal transparency, and hope and optimism are all things that your organization needs in order to withstand, whether it's funding changes or leadership leaving or a change in a change supply or tariffs or change in location, whatever is going on with your organization. We're here to help to support you, as well as look for diverse funding opportunities to increase your revenue. So once again, I am your favorite grant writer and favorite grant professional, Dr. Brandi Raé Hicks, and I look forward to learning with you more at Jumpstart or at Serve University. Thanks so much for joining us today. And if you have any questions, I can maybe stay on about a minute or so afterwards to answer any quick questions. But until then, we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you everyone for joining. Keep checking back at Jumpstart and we'll post webinars as they come across. And thank you, Brandi. It's been so much fun learning everything you had to offer.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Enjoy your day. Does anybody have any questions?
I do actually. I'm currently working on.
Who's I?
Sorry, it's I again, the same person that did it the last time, Hannah. Sorry.
Hannah, gotcha. Okay, what you got?
So I'm currently working on fundraising and looking at non-dilutive funding grants, and I have not personal, like I know how the grant process typically works, and I know there's a lot of stuff that goes into certain grants. So I'm currently in the process of basically figuring out what grants I are available to me and my business, because I'm a I'm a veteran as well. So I know there's a ton of other, female veteran grants and a whole bunch of
Absolutely.
stuff out there. And it's very overwhelming as
Sure.
far as the research, because I am also a sole proprietor. I have someone part-time starting shortly. So,
Awesome.
but that's for more of the like investor side of things. So now I'm starting to be able to focus more myself on the non-dilutive funding for it. So I don't know
Gotcha.
if there is any suggestions, or if you maybe had some time a different day to.
Sure. So is it that you're looking, so what
Sorry
are
to
your top?
interrupt you, but the
Yes.
way the webinar works is it's going to cut us off at exactly 2.
I gotcha. Okay.
So I
got
don't
it.
want you guys to get middle of
So
conversation.
let's do this, Hannah. Can you send me an email that
Sure.
we can chat offline and we can continue that conversation then?
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thanks.
All
Bye.
right. Bye-bye.